Six fam, we are back again for another reaction video. Runner-up, Trump signs executive order banning transgender athletes from women's sports. Now hear me out on this, bro. If you're a transgender, bro, that's you. Like I don't care either way really, because it's not affecting me personally. I don't have any hate towards you or any of that. But I just do not agree with transgender males to females competing in these sports, because it's just an unfair advantage, bro. It just flat out is. You don't hear a lot, or if you hear any at all, from transgender female to males competing in male sports, because they know, bro. There's two different biologies there. So I never agree with this right here. I don't care if you're trans or not, but I just never agree with them competing in the sports, because you're at a more advantage over them. You just are naturally. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, let's check this out, y'all.
Marks, who's been listening along to the president's remarks today, and Mary Alice, can you break down? I mean, how is his executive order using Title IX to carry this out?
Yeah, well, you heard the president there joking that it was a packed room. You saw the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, there as well. You're right to point out that this was a campaign promise and a really central part of Trump's campaign. For all of our talk about the economy and lowering prices, I went to so many of those rallies, and such a focus was this conversation about trans athletes. What's really interesting is, according to a lot of studies, there's only about 30, maybe 50 openly transgender athletes that compete in college sports, and yet this has been such a big focus, point of attention and legislation, and now executive orders for Republicans across the country, and now at the White House. Basically, this executive order, as we understand it, is going to direct federal agencies to look again at how Title IX was written or rewritten, and to put pressure on private institutions around college campuses, around college sports, but also potentially even elementary and high school sports. Could be as much as the Olympic Committee. The White House was getting questions about the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. But basically, look for pressure points to try to make sure, as they say, that they're not transgender athletes competing in athletics writ large. Alex?
Yeah, and thank you for that, Mary Alice. And I also want to bring in investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, because my understanding, Olivia, is that this order is also going to direct the Department of Education to withhold federal funds, at least while the Department of Education is still a thing, but directed to withhold federal funds from schools that do not comply with Trump's interpretation of the law. Can you talk about how this came to be a little bit?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is part of at least sort of that enforcement operation for how they're going to ensure that this new executive order is being followed. You also heard the President Trump talking there about other sort of measures for enforcement. One of them, which our understanding, according to sources, is that they're going to use the Department of Justice, if need be, to look into this. Of course, the Department of Justice is stacked with Trump loyalists who would have no problem, following something like this. He also talked about how he plans to use DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to police visas that are being approved for athletes that he says are coming in under a false identity. Of course, that would be trans women. He also talked to saying how he is going to use Secretary of State Marco Rubio to hit on something that Mary Alice just brought up, which is the Olympics. The Olympics are coming here, and we heard the White House say this earlier. Now we hear it directly from President Trump that they're not going to be welcoming to, it seems, any transgender athletes to compete in the Olympics, and that Marco Rubio is going to be tasked with delivering that message. So really a lot of different prongs here, Alex. I think it's easy to, with something like this, to say, how are they going to enforce that? But it seems they really are getting down to business with it.
Well, in Mary Alice, we see the president now being surrounded by all these young children. Actually, Mary Alice, pause for a second. I want to listen in to see what he's saying right now.
You want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to...
Like I said, bro, look, I never agree with this particular situation here. There's even a transgender in MMA, yo. I think her name was Fallon Fox. That's a transgender, but that's in the women's division. Just like knocking them out like that, that's just not right. I can't agree with that. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. You gotta stop.
Give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that.
That's hard.
I want to make this a really good signature because this is, this is a big one, right?
That's a big one.
Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
I'm good, Dalvin.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out with the...
All right, so we just saw the president sign that executive order there. Mary Alice, I want to bring you back in because we see that he's surrounded by all these young children. But can you talk a little bit about the people that are in the room? We saw that backdrop. He's surrounded by women that were applauding.
It's just not fair, man. And y'all know it's not fair. It's just not fair. Like, why are y'all letting these biological men slide into the women's sport, bro? Like, come on, man.
I mean, these are parents.
A lot of these girls train hard their whole lives to, be successful at their particular sport. And then this transgenders is over there just winning. Probably didn't even train half as hard. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair.
Parents, students, it looks like an array, but who's in that room?
Several congressional leaders, not only members of Congress, but top leadership. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, we saw, was sitting there. It seems like some Republican governors as well. But the backdrop, yes, these female athletes. We saw that often on the campaign trail. A number of female athletes, especially at the collegiate level, who would appear on stage with then candidate and now President Trump talking about how they wanted to get trans women, biological men, out of their athletics. I mentioned this earlier, but I do think it is really important to note that we're talking about such a small percentage of athletes. Some estimates it could be as low as 30, if not maybe 50 openly transgender athletes in college sports. I'm thinking about the governor of Utah, a Republican, obviously a very conservative state, who actually vetoed a ban like this that was written in his state legislature, in part because he said there was only one openly trans athlete in K through 12 at the time that the legislation was being proposed, and he thought that it was essentially, the way he talked about it was overblown and potentially bullying. So look, this is a really controversial issue for so many, but yet has been a cornerstone of Trump's campaign, and he's delivering on a campaign promise, Alex.
Well, and Olivia, one more for you, because as we saw the president exit the room there, I think I caught a glimpse of our Mary Bruce asking him questions. But also, while the camera was panning, I think I also saw a couple of states' AGs. Let's talk about the enforcement factor here. How will states really be able to kind of crack down on this?
Well, that's a key thing that you're hitting on right there. I do believe I also heard him mention some AGs that are in there. I think he mentioned Brenna Bird, who is, of course, the Iowa AG, someone who's a fierce defender and ally of the president. And according to sources who sort of described this order to us earlier here at ABC, the AGs, the state AGs, are really going to be critical in enforcing this, critical for monitoring, I guess, in their states, what schools are doing. Remember, this is going to apply to schools, to sports associations, to college sports, essentially, to the Olympics. So again, it seems like it is going to be something that is enforced by the states. But again, you cannot take off the table sort of that looming threat of Department of Justice action. That is something that is critical there. And also, you heard Mary Alice hit on this idea earlier about ripping away federal funding. If they don't believe that a school is following this new executive order that they are allowing transgender women in women's sports, that they could rip away their federal funding, which is critical.
That's crazy. I mean, hey, you don't want them in there, man. Take away that funding. Hey, look, I mean, I've already said my thoughts on the whole competing with the women. I felt like that was the right move, man. But y'all, that's the video. you like what I do here, keep on liking and subscribe.